All right, so good morning to you. Welcome to the newspaper review segment on Pan-African Television. My name is Kwame Owusu. So today is the 8th of February 2021. The days are fast running, and hopefully we will be able to bring some closure to the matter before the Supreme Court, wherefore the NDC leader is challenging the outcome of the 2020 polls. Hopefully the judges will dispense of justice with immediacy so that the country can return to normalcy. That's the most important thing for all of us. Well, for those of you who are first-timers, let me welcome you to Good Morning Africa show. We are broadcasting from here in Accra across 46 African countries and some parts of Europe. So I'm excited that you're going to join us this morning. And I'm excited also because that we get calls and text messages from East Africa. That excites me so much. To the extent that I received a call from a gentleman who said, I'm a Pan-Africanist. How can I contribute to the TV station? I want to share. And I'm like, okay, why? Which has got to do with COVID-19 and Burkina Faso and how Burkina Faso is dealing with the second wave. I'm sure pretty much you are very much aware. If you are not, I'm telling you that the second wave is really ravaging the world. The hardest hit so far, as I'm told, is the United Kingdom. South Africa is also struggling in the shackles of the second wave. It's not an easy, easy peasy pandemic. The second wave, for that matter, is crazy. It's really killing people. And so we've had to take some very important measures in addressing, this challenge confronting the world. And the Afghanistans and all of those other places, I think they have been banned from visiting the UK, primarily because they intimate that they've not been able to manage properly the second wave. But the question is, have they, the UK, been able to manage their own crisis? No. So it begs the question as to why they have decided to ban people. I think we should begin to ban them as well from entering Africa, because they are the ones who are giving us the problems. Anyway, minority jabs government and accuses MPP MPs of mutilating Ghana's democracy. Ghana's on the front page of the Insight newspaper as well. We are going to touch on that and more. And is that on the front page of the Insight newspaper? Producers, check for me. I don't think it's on the front page of the Insight newspaper. Anyway, election petition. Rojo faces Supreme Court today. Daily analysts captured this.
Have been limited right from the beginning, and so the number of cases that have been recorded is also on the low side. It is obvious that this second wave, the cases has gone up, and the number of deaths are also on the rise. It's on the increase, just like we have in Ghana here too. In Ghana here, the Mortuary Association came out to complain that the figures that they are getting for COVID death, and most of those being reported, are the renowned people. It's likely that if any of us here should die, it might not be reported in the papers. Oh, yes. Yes. The people who are being reported, the professors, the chiefs, the renowned people, those are the echelons of power. These are the people, every day we get those reports. And we are now, it even makes some people to think that this sickness is limited to some class of people. But in actual fact, there are a lot of deaths that are being carried from the house. Sometimes they just say it's the elderly. But that is not the case. There are a lot of deaths that are brought to the mortuary, and they just keep them there as brought in dead from the house.
Wow.
Yes.
In Ghana?
Yes, in Ghana.
Wow.
Yes, brought in dead. So the brought in dead people have increased. The brought in dead people have increased, because we should understand that for some COVID cases, within 48 hours, they are gone. In other words, some people just fall sick before they can even think of, is it COVID, not COVID, am I supposed, is it malaria? The next thing is that cardiac attack, whatever it is, comes in, hypertensive crisis, sets in, then they go. And it is reported as cardiac attack, hypertensive crisis, oh, he had diabetes, etc. But he had fever before, but he just took it like ordinary fever. So this is how we are mixing our records. And we don't do postmortem on them. We don't do postmortem on them. I remember that postmortem, you pay for it. So unless there's somebody in your family who just want to carry out to know the ultimate cause, most in our culture, a lot of people flew on postmortem, you know, thinking that you are even going to deform the body, and sometimes also on religious grounds, that they need to bury them as quickly as possible. And so all these deaths are missed and not recorded as COVID. But currently the mortuary department is experiencing an increase in the number of deaths that they are having at their place. And those who are also preparing the coffin say their market has gone high. Yes, their market for their products have gone high. So let us just be honest to say that we are not catching all our COVID cases. And that is what is happening in a country like Burkina Faso. However, the problem of Burkina Faso is compounded by the fact that they just emerged from, I don't know whether emerged, but still they've not emerged. They are still there. Packets are still there of their civil war or rebellion in the country. And this is putting part of their health infrastructure out of the service. It's written that I think this is put around 130 health centers are not working because of this rebellion. And so they have a situation where already they are down, they don't have enough health facilities, and these figures have gone up. The active cases have gone up, and yet their health facilities are filled to capacity, and those that could have assisted are all even out of action. They are not working because of what? These rebellions across the country. So they are really in big trouble.
Some huge
huge trouble. And I'm hoping that they have to put everything in order.
Yeah. But from where you sit, are we better managing the situation? Because sometimes it's good to pull parity and see whether we are performing better or we aren't performing better.
Honestly speaking, from every country now is getting that idea of how do I live with COVID. This is the stage that we have reached. How do I live with COVID? The situation has gotten bad. We know that this is not going to go away within a matter of 1 year or possibly 2 years. It's possible. So how do we live with COVID is now the question. And so you see that even though the cases have gone up, mortality and morbidity have all increased, we still want our children to be in school.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we still want the economy to run. Where all the steps, you don't see anybody saying that let's close down work, let's close down this factory. They say that let us run shift. In other words, try to keep productivity at where it used to be. Your tax will still be the same. This is the message that is going around. And this is the mentality that has come to operate in the whole world. And we now need, at the moment, another thing that has come is that we should all look for the vaccine. So there's a scramble for the vaccine. And people are measuring their success of getting the vaccine to their people by the number of cases they are getting a day. If the person is getting 600 a day, he wants the vaccination to be more than that. That means that there's a net decrease in whatever they are doing, because they want to vaccinate people more than the new cases that they are getting. And that is where Africa as a whole, Burkina Faso, in Ghana, we're falling out. We are not working hard enough. Because these other countries, after realizing that the West cannot meet their needs, are beginning to look elsewhere. We are only dependent on the international arrangements. So far, the government of Ghana is dependent on the international arrangements that would lead us to get some of the vaccine. And that will not be enough for Ghana.
I thought Cuba had created their own or produced their own vaccine. Why are we not resorting to?
Well, Cuba possibly just came in, but there are other countries that have made arrangements to get an initial dosage to protect some people. Even Guinea, for example, they had about 55,000. It's still very, very small, but it can protect those who are working at the COVID centers and possibly spread to the health workers, a good number of them. And that is just the first step. And there's a promise that they will bring them over 1 million of those vaccines.
Okay.
Why don't we also start something?
Right.
We are waiting for the Western countries alone, but that is not enough. There's now an attempt to look at China, to look at Russia, to look at India, etc., that have become centers for the production. Brazil is doing the same thing. Argentina, most of the Latin American countries, even Africa. We have got Algeria, Tunisia, and all those other countries beginning to look out for their own source of the vaccine. Why is it that most of our countries, even Nigeria, is looking to Russia to get their Sputnik 5?
I see.
Through their own effort.
Anyway.
And what about Ghana?
Right. Mujib, let me come to you. That's a very good question. What about Ghana? But let me come to you. Maybe on the note of Ghana.
I think Kwame, Dr. Nawani has expatiated on the issue happening in Burkina Faso, and it's not different from other countries that have been reported, especially in Ghana. In recent times, the report is that the facilities that we have is now been overstretched, or is now full in capacity. I think that is the second wave, because when this thing started, at a point we were able to contain it. Our facilities were not that overstretched or full to that level. But this time around, what has been reported it tells that it's full, and it's now, if maybe we don't continue vigorously to adhere to the protocols and social distancing, I think that it will not be good for us, and that made the president to now come out again and has to make sure that there are certain measures that are put in place to make sure we don't actually get there. But I think the Burkina Faso case is exacerbated because of what we all know that is going on there. I think there are conflicts and so many insurgent issues that are there. Then that can also, in terms of the medical facilities, you can't compare that to other countries in Africa, if you know their situation. So, and I think that it is a worry. But Kwame, generally, when some part of your body is affected, it affects the whole body. So I think that we have to be trying to find a way of going into the aid of countries like Burkina Faso, etc., etc. Other than that, but what can I say? Because this is a pandemic that is ravaging the whole world. So Kwame, my worry is, when I listen to people, they say, oh, this thing is no good, this thing is no good. And I say, but as a country, what are we also doing? Or as a continent, what are we also doing to make sure we also maybe develop and get vaccines? But listening to Dr. Nawani, and I know other countries in Africa are trying to get this thing from other parts of the world. But Kwame, we are in a difficult situation, of which Burkina, their case have come light, and I know other countries' issues will be reported. But what is the way forward, Dr. Hinaku? For now, I think Mr. Hinaku. So I think, Kwame, the only thing now is to take the protocols very seriously. I think, Doc, now even look at the issue of vaccine. It's now struggling. Countries are struggling to get. Survival is now become survival of the fittest in the jungle democracy. So, Kwame, it's a worrying situation, and I'm extremely worried about it. And I said that now your life is in your own hands. Try it and protect it. Make sure these are what they have shown to us is what we are practicing. And I now tend to believe what the World Health Organization projected and advised when the first wave, what happened in Africa, and when they did their research and came out, they said, no, we are not out of the wounds yet. Don't let the guard down. But Kwame, at a point you realize that people were just behaving as if there was nothing, or the thing is not all that deadly like people are thinking. And it has to take other bigger countries so many times a period to come to the realization that indeed the thing is just taking off many people's life. Example like what we experienced what happened in the United States of America when the former president downplayed the whole process. But eventually that, I believe, costed him his presidency. So Kwame, other countries didn't take it seriously. But now that I think the world has come to realize that no, something ought to be done. And now we are hearing a good news that there's vaccine is found, other countries have gotten, and they have started administering to their people. But the bad angle is that some group of scientists or some people are also coming to tell us the side effects, the negative side effects of this vaccines. And I said, hey, then where are we now? But I know whatever it is, every drug has its side effect, depending on how it can affect the person, maybe for a longer, looking at the period. And some are even saying that after 10 years, 15 years, say, but so what scientific basis have they also carried out to be reporting that? If that is the case and this thing is side effects, as I've said, I have seen some videos, people are cautioning people not to go in for the vaccine. So where are we, Kwame?
That's a very good question.
Where are we? So the world has to do something, and something has to be done.
Immediately.
Thank
you very much, Mujib Rahman there. Self-boss training is organizing a one-day skills and entrepreneurial empowerment workshop for the unemployed, domestic helps, graduates, school dropouts, housewives, if there's anything like that now, churches, constituencies, and people working with little income on how to produce and sell the following: biodigester, wo flashia na shit, organic libido drink, pavement tiles, customized chocolate, immune booster drink, bleach for washing, sanitizer spray, liquid soap, atadre milk. So they're organizing a one-day training and skills and entrepreneurial empowerment workshop. Okay, the date is on Saturday, the 27th of February, 2021. The 27th of February, 2021. Time is 7 a.m. prompt. The venue is Accra College of Education, Atraco, close to UPSA in Medina. The rate is 200 Ghana cedis. No additional payments will be made. So when you pay the 200 cedis, they will take you through the process. You get to learn a lot, and you won't pay anything again. The tickets will be available at the entrance on the event day. Package includes certificates and handouts. Refreshments will be served. FDA will be there to also educate us on registration and packaging. So if you want to be part of this training, the one-day skills and entrepreneurial empowerment workshop, kindly call them on 0246 289760. 0246 289760. Self-boss. training, Be Your Own Boss. Mr. Neku.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning to you, Kwame. Good morning to my co-panelists. And good morning to the cherished viewers of Pan-African television. Indeed, it is quite worrying what is being reported from Burkina Faso. And I believe is the same from most African countries. The health infrastructure of most African countries, as well as the infrastructure for collecting data, that is statistics, is quite, low. Why? Because we have not really invested in it, in the institutions which are needed, one, to provide health care, as well as to provide data on various aspects of our socioeconomic life in order to help us to plan for our country and our economy. With regards to Burkina Faso, there's also conflicts going on in Burkina Faso. There's a fight by the Islamic terrorists over there in Burkina Faso. And investment in health services in Burkina Faso is low. Why? Because like other African countries, our thinking about the provision of health facilities is only at the level of brick and mortar. We realized on the onset of the COVID outbreak that China had built a hospital in 10 days, that the United Kingdom had converted certain open facilities, stadia, etc., into holding facilities to treat COVID. In Ghana here, we were told that there was a group of scientists, mechanical engineers in KNUST, who had invented or had, built, innovated ventilators. Now we are crying that we don't have enough ventilators, because ventilators at the end stage for COVID is important in order for people to be able to breathe. You understand? Meanwhile, there was a shortage of ventilators worldwide. Did we invest in it? The 600 million, that's the stabilization fund we took, and the $1 billion that we got. We're only interested in buying food, relief for our people, instead of investing in factories which will produce PPEs, which we could have by now, if we had more than enough, have aided the Burkina Faso and other African countries with it. Our biggest problem for us, especially for the black man, for 400 or so years, has been consumerism. What that we were thinking when the outbreak came and we had a lockdown was how to distribute food. We never thought about how to invest in the facilities which will be long-lasting in order to fight the COVID. We just wanted immediate relief. And this comes out of the syndrome of dependency and poverty, which brings about hopelessness and non-confidence in ourselves. Now we are being taken into the vortex of non-belief in Eastern medicine. So we won't look at the vaccines which has been invented in, that's the Sputnik 5, by the Russians, or by the Chinese, or by the Cubans. The truth of the matter is that we are not aware of our self-interest. Our self-interest should have told us that what the Cubans were doing, because Cuba is a poor country, if we invested also in their vaccine program, we will be beneficiaries of the vaccine, and that they have world-class virological institutes there. Nothing stopped us, even with the Pfizers and the Modernas, with we having contributed some of the $1 billion of part of our stabilization fund to look to the future, that once we have invested in part of it and made we had applied for it in the future, when they started, we will also get our vaccines. What about our health facilities here? We have medical research here at Mampong. We have the pharmacology department at KNUST. Who says that our scientists are any lower than the scientists outside there? We produce the alutes. We produce the Obeng, you know, that lady in water research and etc. So our scientists, we had our scientists who were able to isolate the genome or whatever it is with the COVID. Who says that we couldn't also have invented a vaccine? And what are we doing? Why are we depending on the goodwill of the West when there's nationalism as far as distribution of the vaccines in the Western countries? There's nationalism becoming prevalent. The EU is accusing Britain because the production facilities for Pfizer and others are in Britain. And Britain is making sure they are taking most of the vaccines first before they give to Germany. That's their white cousins in Europe. How much more about you, the African? When will you get yours? And we are still waiting for it. We are waiting for it because we are waiting for it for free. Why won't you talk to other people who have also brought about it? What stops us? If we told that, oh, the Russians are in stage 3, now the EU is rushing to beg Russia to export Sputnik 5 to them. Hungary has already received about 1 million doses of the vaccine and part of the Chinese vaccine.
Can there be any form of arrangement where once those vaccines are sent, for instance, to Africa, our scientists can look into it, find out what was used?
1 million doses has been sent to Guinea.
Yeah, I know. But
Egypt has collected some.
My argument is that can we find a way of reproducing them in Africa, for instance, when they send it to Africa? Because Africa Center for Disease Control really.
The Sputnik is being reproduced in China and India.
Absolutely. Yes. So can't you do something in Africa? That's the point I'm making.
Minimum infrastructure.
Yeah.
But Kwame, we have that infrastructure. We have Gihog Pharmaceuticals. You understand? We have NS Chemists and other pharmaceutical companies here. I mean, what does it take to just pack the vaccine?
Yeah.
The data and the vaccine itself has been invented by other countries. Yours is simply to bottle it and give it to your people. The United States, they have reactivated a Defense Act which allows them to increase production. What stops us from doing that?
Yeah.
You see, and what stops us from doing that is the poor economic governance, the political governance that we have. That everything should be private supplied.
So
we are in an emergency, for God's sake.
Everything is business.
Yes, but we are in an emergency. And the society is at the peril of this COVID. So we must look at everything in mobilizing all our resources to confront it. Personal responsibility is important, but it is the society's duty to ensure and enforce personal responsibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, it's my responsibility to guard myself and guard others. But if I'm not doing it, then you say that what? I should be allowed because of the so-called personal freedom or democracy or what? No! Because this is an existential threat. It's a threat to humanity. It's a threat to our kind. Our kind can be wiped out as a result of this COVID. And because our kind can be wiped out as a result of this COVID, it's the duty of society. And if I say it's the duty of society, it's the duty of the leaders of society to be able to use all aspects of the might of the society to mobilize us to fight against it. Whether it's in Burkina Faso, whether it's in Ghana or elsewhere. You see, we're lulled into a false sense of complacency because then the misconception was that in the tropical areas, the heat will kill the COVID. Forgetting that part of the COVID could mutate to also meet the heat. You understand? We have to be scientific. We have to stop this mythological. Look, God exists, and that is why God created reason. He created consciousness in this our material body in order for us to be able to overcome challenges of nature. You understand? So it's not enough to be lazy and just go and shout for God to do the work for you when he has already given you the tools for you to be able to do that work.
Is it perhaps manifestly significant how we have downplayed the gravamen of the virus and the devastating nature of it? I'm saying this because it appears that, I think Mujib used the right word, we have lowered our guard and creating the impression as though nothing like that, well, it exists, but it doesn't exist, in the realms where we want to say that, a lot of people will die, etc., etc. And which is why Dr. Nawani also indicated that schools have been reopened. I'm very concerned. I'm worried about the whole situation and how we are dealing with it, or we are addressing it. First of all, we know that we're in the second wave, and we know how devastating the second wave is, right? One would have thought that the wisest thing to do, and I'm not saying I'm wiser than the president, but the wisest thing to do, is to at least create some level of comfort for the people by closing down at least, for maybe a week or 2 or 3 or whatever it is. Because UK actually locked down again, so that we will be able to study how widespread the second wave is, so that we'll be able to devise a strategy that will work. Because the strategy that we're working with now, in my estimation, is a strategy that was used to address the first wave. And perhaps that strategy may not necessarily work for the second wave. Kids are going to school. Now we know, we've heard of schools that have been infected, students that have been infected by the virus. That another international school has closed down owing to the surge in numbers in that particular school. So doesn't it stand to reason that the wisest, commonsensical thing to do is to just close down, study the virus, know how you can deal with all of those issues, then you can open up the system again, Mr. Eneku.
Yeah, people are grappling, governments are grappling with bringing about a certain normality of society vis-a-vis the challenges of fighting COVID. To my mind, I thought that when we closed down most things during the first wave, it should have allowed us to have thought of fighting this COVID by investing.
You want to say something?
By investing in certain things. For example, when we did the first closure, or when we dealt with the first wave, most universities which came home were learning online.
Absolutely, yeah.
What stopped us from having invested money in expanding and wiring our country?
Absolutely.
What stopped us? Almost every house in this country has got electricity. Almost every house in this country has got electricity. It's connected to the electricity. When we're not using mobile phones, there were plenty of our houses which were connected to the telephone wires. So who says that we couldn't have sent wired our residences and other public places so that even in the advent of the second wave, we could have used that for online teaching, because we have been doing online teaching and we have experience in that. What stops us from pinpointing the critical areas, isolating them and closing them down in order to deal with it, whether through testing in those kind of areas for us to have a clear picture of how many people, the trend of the pandemic
spread, yeah.
there, of the spread there. What stops us from investing in our delivery services so that the market, people can, you let the middle class people even be able to order food and other things online to be delivered to them, and wouldn't it have the ripple effect of decongesting the market? There are very plenty simple things that we can do.
So we didn't plan.
It is not only planning. You see, our biggest problem is always that we are always looking at the huge, big things to do, your interventions, so that it will have the big impact and to have the loudest applause. Those little things. Where is the epicenter of this pandemic? We are now being told by Dr. Nawani that in his constituency, I believe since March last year, it is now that they have had one case. Meanwhile, you have had in Kumasi and Accra, Kaswa, etc., plenty cases. Which means what? Which means that there should be a certain form of restrictions
within those areas.
Within those areas.
No, I agree.
Well, where you don't have it, people shouldn't go there.
Yeah.
We should be able to fashion out how they should get their supplies of food and everything to us so that we stay put.
Does it defeat the statement that was made by the president that we know how to address the challenges that will confront the economy arising from COVID-19, but we don't know how to resurrect people? Is it the reverse that is working now?
Yeah, but
it appears that we've opened up because of the economic quagmire that is flowing as a result of our inability to expand to open up and freely allow businesses to operate so that we can rake in, some taxes, etc. It appears that is the situation to me personally now.
Yes, what the president said was a truism.
No, that's a fact.
That's
I'm saying that
but we are not living up to it. You see, because we don't know how to resurrect people. I suppose it's only Jesus Christ who was supposed to have resurrected people. You understand? We don't know how to resurrect dead people. It meant that, one, we have to keep the sanctity of the life of our people, and at the same time, innovate new ways of ensuring the survival of our people. How do you ensure the survival of our people? Provision of shelter. We saw it was glaring that when there was a lockdown, those in Jamestown who already live on the streets couldn't obey it because there was no home for them to go.
And it's not deliberate. It
is not deliberate. It's a fact.
Yeah,
it's an economic fact of life. It's a social fact of life. Not only there, my hometown in Cape Coast, at the beaches and all those places, yes. People virtually live on the street, sleep on the street. You understand? So the shelter, we had to deal with it. The provision of social services. How were they going to get food? In America, it has become so dire that they were going to give $2,000. And you know what it is meant? It is also going to be used to stimulate the economy.
Yeah.
Because that $2,000, whether it's to pay house rent, whether it's to buy food,
back into the economy.
And if it goes back into the economy.
Absolutely. So we just recycle it.
What did we do with ours? We were very interested in importing more rice and distributing it instead of making sure that the rice which was locked up in the north was brought down and the money used to pay for it so that the money would go into our economy.
Into the economy. Yeah.
So yes, we don't know how to resurrect. So we have to keep the sanctity of life, but we also needed to innovate.
Yeah, I get all of my question was in respect of whether or not the economy is crumbling, for which reason we needed to open up the system, and which is why it has become very difficult, almost impossible for government to lock down again. That was my question.
We could have organized the economy in such a way that the economy wouldn't crumble.
Okay. All right, I get the logic. Now, you want to make a quick point, but also factor this into the equation, because I've seen that we are fumigating a lot. Now, we're fumigating, we say we're fumigating the schools, we're fumigating, the marketplace, etc. What's in the fumigation? That's chlorine, right?
Yeah, chlorine.
Is it able to do anything at all to COVID-19?
Absolutely not.
No, the issue is that
unless there's another reason for such.
Just like how we wash our hands, and we hope that it will kill the viruses. In actual fact, the virus exists in the droplets, and in the course of time, without even any treatment, they die. Yeah, they go off in the atmosphere. Without any treatment, they go. They don't just continue to hang forever. Yes, but using the disinfectants, yes, you remove them faster.
But we should have been using peroxide, I'm told.
No. Hydrogen peroxide, yes, but they are all. But chlorine and coal will let it also go faster than just leaving them in the atmosphere.
Go faster? What do you mean by go faster?
For example,
because the point is this. Hold on, you fumigate Pan-African TV.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
You fumigate it, let's say on Saturday. Monday people come to work. Does it mean that by the time people come to work, the virus will not be here? What is it? Or people can equally from their homes import the virus to Pan-African TV, even though you've fumigated the place. That's the logic. That's the logic here. I want to understand that.
Yes. I mean, using certain substances, for example, we know that they die faster. Even without even any substance, they still will die within 3-4 hours or so.
3-4 hours?
Yes, in the atmosphere. They will die. Or they will go off. And the temperatures of around 50, 60 going, I think they die within 45.
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius, yes.
Celsius?
When
we are boiling?
Yes, the boiling. Yes. Yes. At high temperatures.
At high temperatures?
Yes, high temperatures, you can kill them within some 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So this is the principle under which
I see.
Chlorine and coal are being used.
Okay. So it's good.
So like you come here, you want to kill them instantly in the air here. Yes, you can use even hot water or something or chlorine, etc. You spray here. Yes, they die instantly. I mean, within.
So how come that when they enter your system when you drink hot water, they don't die?
Some people are using that as a...
But people are steaming.
Yeah, people are steaming, etc. Yes, but those things...
And according to you, that's the best way.
We deal with that. I should say no.
No.
Brukutu.
No.
Okay, now what is activity?
Some people think that because Parazone can kill them instantly within 15 minutes.
Parazone, eh?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
In the environment.
Yes.
In the environment.
Some
people thought that if they get it and they drink the Parazone too.
But that's health education.
It will kill yourself first before killing.
They will kill you. Parazone will kill you. Anyway, I get the logic.
Yeah,
so,
I think what I wanted to come in is that when we locked down, we messed up in the management of the lockdown. I mean, I'm not being critical of the MPP, but actually it was a complete mess up. And people couldn't get food to eat. The food distribution was even practically not effective. It went, some people started complaining that it was partisan, etc. We had situations where the people in the lockdown areas, Kumasi, Accra, and everywhere, Takrady, yes, they all started complaining. And so I'm not surprised the government doesn't want to think of any form of lockdown. Any form of lockdown, because unless they have a very good program of managing the lockdown, the effect of the lockdown was worse. They were able to track down the situation, but after tracking down, they practically had no idea what to do next, because it was said that we now needed, like you were saying, to lock down areas where the people will report high number of cases. We identify them, then we lock them down.
Okay.
Then by doing that, everybody will be, I mean, if we don't want lockdown, do the right thing.
All right.
If you don't want lockdown, observe your protocols. But let me just also be honest. It appears that when the situation improved, the government just practically lost the guard. And the guard, some of the COVID money, I remember they even wanted to open a development bank with COVID money. With COVID money, when things improved, instead of looking at the infrastructure, remember that they brought in the Bahama structures, uncompleted structures and other things that in the health sector, the infrastructure that he started, it came timely to help us to contain the situation. But when the situation improved, instead of using some of these funds, apart from the infection center of 100 beds, that was, they had money and targeted to build it, instead of using some of these funds to further complete others, they just rushed in that direction and wanted to use the COVID funds to even build, what do they call it, development bank.
Okay.
Then we had the schools too. The schools, we all knew that it was said that if we wanted to open it, the problem was the social distancing. How to, apart from the PPEs, the social distancing was also a problem. We did not plan how we were going to create some of the social distancing. Most of the schools have very good open spaces that if we had planned it properly, we could have used just tents or any temporary structures.
Outside on the
any temporary structures to create space and let them be spaced properly, and we can teach them. We did not do all these things. We are complaining that our numbers are going up. So let us be honest. But I didn't agree with you. The problem of electricity is still there. It's still there.
Yeah, but we don't have to wait for 100% electricity before
I'm not saying that,
our country.
I'm not saying, but this so-called virtual learning.
No, but how did you because what I picked from what he said
Yes.
was that we should have found a way of expanding access to electricity across the country, so that
yes,
exactly.
improve on
the e-learning.
But even apart from that, we have about 70% penetration. We have done a bit of work there. So wiring, when I say wiring, that's for internet. Shouldn't be a big problem.
Yes, but
because all this electric,
there was a suggestion. There was a suggestion. There was a suggestion that we could have created internet centers.
Yeah.
Within the communities, for instance, so that some service provider will be providing them with the internet, etc., and then maybe from the school fees they can pay for the services of those internet providers.
They can't pay. You see, Kwame, our biggest problem is the fact that a huge majority of our people are poor.
Yes.
You take the mask. You take this mask. Take a family of 5, the average in our country. A driver, the lady is a petty trader. What is the disposable income for them to be able to change
the nose mask
every day for 5?
Yeah, that's a very valid point.
See,
I mean,
so
it's practically impossible.
If you want to enforce it, make sure you provide free nose masks. How do you provide free nose masks? By the state investing in the production of nose masks. And it's not only nose masks, it will be involved in the production of PPEs, beds, etc., etc.
But I thought that
and we'll be able to export.
I thought Alan Chemantin visited one of these local industries, which was in the business of producing nose masks and PPEs. So what happened to that? But to be fair, that nose mask was really bad, terrible. Some material, nose mask.
Yeah, but that is why we have the standard board and we have the Food and Drugs Board. They are regulatory bodies to enforce standards.
Anyway, well, let's proceed. Mujib, you want to also make a quick point, and then I think I've not been fair to you.
No, I think it's still on the same topic, Kwame, and I think Mr. Ineku has also thought much about it. But I think that it's a general concern, and I just don't know what to say because we can only keep praying. To get out of it. Other than that, it's like left, right, center, we are not safe.
From where you sit, and let's be very candid, how do you think we should have managed the situation from the outset
in Ghana, the whole world?
In Ghana.
Yeah, but
how do you think we would have? Because,
and
I'm asking this question on the basis of our knowledge right? First of all, of even the second wave before it got to Ghana.
Yeah.
And how we still allowed our airports to be operating and our whatever to be operated still, knowing fully well that people were going to fly in with the second wave, particularly when we knew that the UK was experiencing the second wave. We allowed people to come in during the Christmas festivity. That is one. Two, also that knowing fully well that the virus was still with us. And because, you see, I don't want to create the impression that the president was telling a lie. Okay? I don't want to create that impression. Because what it is for me, is that we knew that we were going to go on campaigns. So the president, in my estimation, was preparing the minds of Ghanaians to the point where it will become an acceptable practice. And I'm saying this because you recall that in one of the addresses to the nation, the president said we should find a way of living with the virus. This was in preparing our minds towards the campaign, so that if politicians were out there campaigning, well, the president has already said we should find a way of living with the virus. So then it wouldn't become very topical. Now we do know that that was not really the case. And indeed, the president, in his own words, is committed to addressing the issue, which means we cannot live with the virus forever. So did he lie to us? How do you think we could have managed the situation? Look at the distribution of relief items when we locked down, how it was done, you know, and all of the other issues flowing from our attempt to deal with the issue of COVID-19 in this country. We created funds, COVID-19 fund. What has happened to the fund? I posed the question on Twitter. That was responded to later. But we have not, you know, felt the impact of the COVID-19 fund that was created, because this is the time we need the fund to provide PPEs for our school children. That is one. We created what we call COVID-19 tracker. Really, what was and is the purpose of that tracker? The tracker has not yielded any positive result for anybody in this country. So on what basis did we invest in all of these things when we know that even with the benefit of hindsight, we're not going to benefit from all of these things that we're creating? Well, COVID-19 fund, they said they procured a few things. I'll grant them that. But how much was realized? How much of it has been used? How much of it is left? What are we using what is left for? We need to know all of these things.
It's true. Yeah, but Kwame, but if to answer your general question as to how we have managed COVID so far, Kwame, but if you recalled the beginning, these tough measures that borders were closed, airport was closed, and then lockdown imposed on certain areas, Tema, Accra, Takoradi, Kumasi, and movement was restricted. Like if you are from Accra, how to get to the northern part of the country was difficult, unless of course you are essentially service providers. They were allowed to do that. But Kwame, generally in all this, you realize that we were by September, getting to beginning of November, COVID was under control.
Yes.
And the numbers were dropping. Doctor is here. The infection rates were dropping, and as against the death rate were also stable. But Kwame, the fact of the issue is there was election that people's focus were on the election and not how to manage COVID. Kwame, only God knows what would have happened in this country if maybe government was, or stakeholders was, to postpone the elections 7th December 2020. What would have been the reaction of the people of Ghana, and for that matter, the political parties in this country? And even there was ban on gathering, mass gathering. But at a point, the pressure and what was going on, government had to ease those restrictions and allow people not more than 100 or 200 to gather. And the politicians now went in. Gathering thousands. And now the police or the law enforcers also now sat aloof. So sincerely, what we are experiencing, probably, I want to say, is a fall-off of what we have just gone through. The elections, the campaigning, the Christmas festivities and all those things Kwame, all the best issues, measures that were put in place were relaxed. So, and it...
We shouldn't have...
Have we been sincere?
That is why I asked
Mujib, with the greatest of respect to you, sir, have we been sincere to the Ghanaian people?
Yeah.
About...
In terms of...
In terms of... I mean, you just
Kwame,
said it here. That's why I'm asking.
We have watched what happened around the world, China and other areas, to be very strict discipline. But Kwame, let's merge that with our economy in terms of lockdown. So, can we manage, Kwame, today if we want to go on lockdown, how for maybe 1 month or 2 months to get this thing off?
You see,
so how are we going to manage it?
I find everything.
How are we going to manage
everything wrong with that analogy, and I'll explain why.
Kwame?
Because how much did we receive from
World Bank?
World Bank. For the purposes of COVID-19,
yes.
How much?
Yes.
$1 billion.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That could have been injected into the economy.
Yes.
And that could have done a lot of the things that, I mean, we have failed to do.
That is true.
How much did the domestic banks give us?
Yes.
Was it stabilization fund or something?
How much of Ghana? 10 billion.
COVID-19 fund created. So you cannot at all. You cannot assert.
I agree with you for the.
So the economy was
the
economy could have been
contained,
sailed ashore or contained. If you let me borrow your own words, right? If we had done a proper management of the monies that we received from World Bank and all the other domestic banks that we got money from.
The
money have we been fair to the good people of Ghana? You see, have we been fair?
Ask a question.
No, I'm not.
You now want to know whether government has been fair to the people of Ghana or not.
Yes.
And somebody is here to also tell you, to some extent, government has been fair.
On what basis are you saying this?
Of course, that is the point. Don't also, let's look at it broadly. The fight is from all aspects. Kwame, you talk of feeding. You talk of pushing the people. You talk of providing PPEs, and the number, how to get PPE imported into the country was creating problems. Eventually, the trade ministry, government has to come in to make sure we produce these things locally. As a media man, do you care to know how much it has cost the state to get, when frontline workers complain on daily basis, was that they were not getting PPE. Therefore, their own life was in danger. And people were now running away. Government, to some extent, had to go beyond that to assure this insurance package and tax-free.
That hasn't been paid.
Oh my God! But
the insurance packages,
whatever it is,
the 50% bonus for the frontline workers has not been paid.
Where is the evidence?
I am telling you.
Where is the evidence?
I'm telling you.
Where is the evidence?
Listen, I'm telling you.
Granted.
What is your evidence that has been paid?
God.
What is your evidence that has been paid?
Let me go on.
You are alleged that it's been paid.
I said granted that it hasn't been paid, but this is a commitment from government, so it will be paid. So what is your problem?
So my problem is that
I hope you are getting.
It's not been
paid. The money arrived for
the
campaign, So this amount of money that came out.
Anyway, I mean, I think we can go back.
I've not landed.
I'll come to conclude.
What campaign? Don't bring it. What campaign? Didn't you campaign? Didn't the NDC campaign?
Gentlemen,
when you went to your constituency to campaign, did you observe protocols?
Let's have this.
You were bringing the people together to tell them to vote for you.
Gentlemen.
You were not providing them nose masks, sanitizers.
Gentlemen.
Yes. You all brought us where we are now.
I agree with Mujib when Mujib said that the COVID situation went down around August,
September there. But the figures are there.
It went down. What did we do? We pretended as if it had vanished. The Ministry of Information stopped giving us information.
Hold on.
They stopped giving us information.
The daily updates.
First, the daily updates. First, they even changed it. You see, the way they gave us the information in the beginning struck some fear amongst us. So it put pressure on us to observe our personal responsibilities. Then we were told that, it was going to be, it's a normal thing. We have to live with it. And then that fear, which was struck, we were told that, no, we shouldn't panic. We should have panicked. They should have put the fear of God in us. And then by November, oh, it is normal. It was as if it had vanished. So why weren't you expecting that people were going to crowd at the beaches, at parties, at political events?
Okay, I get your argument. Muhib, conclude for me then.
Yeah, but so Kwame, that is what I would say. So we collectively, at a point, just like my earlier submission, it's like we have allowed our guard down. But Kwame, I would have been like, instead of at a point being patriotic and looking at the lives of the people of Ghana, our major concentration was on elections. Which party is going to win the elections? So I want to ask a question. So as a people, why couldn't we have come out to say, okay, we have an electoral calendar. This is what we have to follow. But what do we do? Because if we can engage in political campaigns, if we lose guard, then we are going to be where we are today. Therefore, let's do something about it.
So
nobody was saying anything.
No, so therefore no political campaign. No political campaign. We have election.
Exactly.
We could have
postponed the election.
No, we could have had the election without political campaign.
Okay, right. Let's proceed.
CPP would have agreed. CPP would have agreed.
We would have agreed. We didn't have money.
NDC would not agree.
We have
Getting government as if government want to do something and win elections.
And allow the television stations.
Let me read a few messages, please. This one is from Ibrahim Washara. It says, I now believe that 100% of NDC MPP supporters don't know why. Oh, what are you talking about?
That we don't know what.
He's talking about the cause. We're not there yet. Godfred Akpene says, watching you live from Doha in Qatar. This one is from, okay, well, you're talking about Muntaka. I'm not discussing Muntaka. This MPP government is not serious in fighting the pandemic. They have a misplaced priority. They spent large sums of money in holding campaign rallies prior to the 2020 December general elections, ignoring what was at stake with regards to the pandemic. This regime has failed woefully in putting measures to fighting COVID-19. Rashida Idrissa says they are not able to pay fees because they made some parents pay fees even upon knowing that the numbers were increasing and they went ahead to reopen schools. This government doesn't think of long-term development projects. That's why they are only good at going for long-term loans. And the Tay says, one, if one is vaccinated, can he or she be a carrier? Two, if I'm vaccinated, do I need to still go for PCR tests? Ibrahim Mashara says, the money is still there. Ken Furata has it. I think, okay, well, I'm referring to the court issue. Can you tell Mujib that COVID-19 money was used for campaigns by MPP? Abubakar Tajuddin says, please, just let Mujib explain how much is the whole money and how much of it has been spent.
They distributed fish in the conspiracy.
Juliana Belinda Obri says they will account for every single penny. Nice. Henry Anderson says, watching you live from Berlin. Mohammed Abdul Razak Ali says, our leadership is not just serious. Ate Akaineti says, what is the Kutuka International Airport $150 being used for? Very good question, actually.
You're going to private pocket.
Okay, says, we can call all tailors in Ghana to come together and start sewing nose masks. What's the big deal about this? I agree with all the messages that you've sent to us. And I'm going to read a lot more of the messages on WhatsApp. But let me remind you again that in this time, Charlie, you need to do something for yourself, really. You have to be your own boss. You have to create something for yourself to earn an income. And I am giving you an opportunity to be able to do that, right? And a company called Self Boss Training, is training you to be your own boss. So it's just going to be like a one-day skills and entrepreneurship empowerment workshop for unemployed, domestic helps, graduates, school dropouts, housewives, churches, constituencies, and people working with little income on how to produce and sell the following: biodigester, flash organic libido drink, pavement tiles, customized chocolates, immune booster drink, Atadri milk, liquid soap, sanitizer spray, bleach for washing. I'll be interested a lot in the sanitizer spray because of COVID-19. You need to know how to make it, okay, to prepare it so you can sell, make some good money. The date is on the 27th of February, I beg your pardon, 27th of February 2021 on Saturday. The time is 7 a.m. prompt, and the venue is Accra College of Education, Atraco, which is close to UPSA in Medina. To register, you have to just simply pay 200 Ghana cedis. No additional payments again will be taken from you. The ticket will be available at the entrance. But if you want to buy the ticket before you go, you can call the number 0246289760. 0246289760, or you can call 0246289922. 0246289922. Self-boss training, be your own boss. In these times, you need to be your own boss. Now, we'll go to the Supreme Court very soon, but before then, let's discuss this very important issue. Minority is accusing MPs of mutilating Ghana's democracy, and they are accusing them because of how the selection of the Council of State was done. In accordance, pursuant to Article 89(1) of the Constitution, the President can appoint Council of Elders, but also the MMDCs and all of that must also nominate some people who will form the Electoral College that will also appoint, some other elect some the other, regional reps of the council. But they are saying that they have circumvented the process. NDC is accusing MPP of circumventing that particular process. At best, what they are doing is that they are selecting their own MMDCs and forming that electoral college and selecting their own people without going through the process. And that is the challenge that they are facing now, that they are in clear breach of Article 89(1) of the Constitutional Republic of Ghana. Mr. Eneku, I think I should come to you for that. I think the Speaker also mentioned that sometime last week, and the NDC has also picked that up. So it's becoming a little challenge for us now, and going forward, how we can seek to protect our Constitution. That's the only thing we have now to protect, to be honest. Once we flagrantly disregard the provisions in the Constitution, then where are we headed?
well, it's quite unfortunate. I think that, is it four of the appointees should have been in consultation with Parliament.
Absolutely.
It is good that it has come out in the public domain, in the court of public opinion, and that is one. Number two, I believe that a court process, a case could be made in court, the Constitution, that's the Supreme Court, against them. And you see, when we are talking about this, we have a penchant for hiding certain information. Who are the four? I think there's a Chief Justice. Now we have more than one retired Chief Justice. So which of the retired Chief Justice, which of the retired IGP, and all those all these things should come out for the public to engage in a debate on it, for us to know the kind of people who are being put there and why they are being put there. Is it a case of just gerrymandering to put people who will always say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir? Because there was a former police, Inspector General of Police, who was put on the Ayawaso, what was the name of that committee?
Which one?
The short committee. And that, the findings of that committee was not very favorable to government or to the governmental institutions who were involved in it, which means that he is a person who can adequately represent us in that Council of State. As far as the District Assembly is concerned, I thought that it was the District Assembly or the MMDCs, the MMDs, who were supposed to elect members of the Electoral College who were to elect members of the Council of State. Or am I wrong?
Yep.
That is, you come to my hometown, Ekrapim North, the District Assembly, they are to
elect two people.
They are to elect two people to go to the Electoral College.
And then elect the Council of...
Have they changed that?
Okay, they're not changed in principle, but what is happening is that they are taking the DC and possibly the presiding member.
No, but it is the assembly who are supposed to nominate.
Sit down,
the assembly who are. So
this process
it should be enforced.
Subverted.
Yes, it should be enforced.
You see, so what they are saying is that, okay, the Electoral College should constitute an assembly meeting for the assemblies themselves.
Yes.
To nominate 2 people to form the Electoral College.
And that's the legal requirement.
That's the legal requirement.
Yes, yeah. So anything short of that is ultra-virus.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
But you see, they are
presiding member. I represent the assembly.
What they are saying exactly. So it's not like on the face of it, it does not offend the law. It's just the process of picking those 2 people, which is offending in their estimation, which is wrong, because they said that the assemblies themselves must be allowed to pick 2 people. But this one, the assembly themselves are not allowed to do that. They are saying that the MPP is by themselves picking those people within the assembly, to form
for us to make the assembly aware that 1/3 of the assembly members can convene an assembly meeting.
Yeah.
You understand? If the presiding member does not convene the assembly meeting, 1/3 of members of the assembly can convene a meeting. And if 1/3 we make them aware and 1/3 convenes a meeting and say no, it is Kofi and Ama who are representing us, then of course the presiding member in the DC can hold themselves as being representative of the district. You see, sometimes it is up to us to act instead of always sitting down for things to be done for us.
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
Anyway, I get it. Yeah. So let me come to Dr. Nawani. I mean, I think now you need to speak to.
Yes. We should be able to convince the assemblymen that there's the need for a meeting before such 2 people are picked, and that during the meeting, the usual democratic process should be allowed to play out, but not the hierarchy of the assembly, because we have a situation where it appears that the assembly, either they will say that there are no resources to call a meeting for an official meeting, and that they have consultations among themselves, and that the 2 highest persons in the assembly, politically, should go and represent the assembly. This is what the MPP is trying to do, knowing very well that the district chief executive is a government appointee or is an appointee of the president. And the presiding member, majority of them are members of the MPP. By virtue of the fact that the government nominates 1/3 of the assembly people, when they add them to their elected district, they're able to get 2/3. And so majority of the presiding membership, the presiding members are also MPP. This is in principle. So with the 2 people all belonging to one party, it means that what the government wants is what they get. The people who are standing, there will be one of them who will be the official candidate of this ruling party, and that person is going to be elected. So we in principle have a situation where the government is once again appointing all these regional representatives. And we have 60 regions now. And so we have 60 members once again being appointed by the president. Apart from the fact that we already have others that are already appointed by the president. And so we have a council of state that practically represents one party. If we allow the current scenario to play out, and that is why in areas like Nabdam, we are able to secure the presiding membership because we really took the assembly election seriously, and so we have the numbers to force the assembly to take our presiding member. But the second person is still going to be, they will force a second person on us who will be from the other party. So our place in Nabdam is a little bit balanced, but in other districts, I'm telling you that they only have just one party representatives going there, and in the long run, all the people who are going to be there are going to be like people who either appointed by the president directly or appointed by the president indirectly. This is actually what is going to happen in most of the districts, and that is not democracy. You know, so we should look at it properly. Indeed, I was thinking that one day we should have a way of bringing in civil society, etc., in the appointment of these regional representatives. We should bring in other organizations, and not only the district assembly. Also, this assembly is a political organ to some extent, yes. It is not as neutral as we think. It is a political organ. Why don't you bring in labor? Why don't you bring in possibly some Christian council, Muslim council, other people, to all bring representatives to put together and elect these people who are supposed to advise the president. You know, advise the president, not always agree with the president. These people are saying that we expect them to have a superior knowledge of our daily lives. So why don't you bring in some other group of representatives from other groups? For example, the farmers group, you know, in Upper East, where, you know, predominantly most of the people who work there are farmers. If there's an association like that, and we're able to get someone there to come and have a vote to elect somebody who represents the region at the Council of State, I believe that we should look at this well, and if it means amending the Constitution to enable such people to also take part in electing the regional representatives, I believe that it will go a long way to run. We should expand the electoral college. But this so-called rest from the assembly, we have got how many assemblies? We have got 15 assemblies or so. And so we should have 30 people voted. We should have 30 people voted. I believe that we don't really do any good to that institution, and hence to the president who they are supposed to advise.
All right, Mujib.
Yeah, Kwame, I think over to me. So near article no.
891. I think they quoted it here, which states members of the Council of State are either appointed by the president and others are elected by an electoral college that is constituted by a nomination of 2 persons from the various district assemblies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but who nominated the 2?
That's why he's saying that the 2 are nominated by
the assembly
or
the community.
Yeah.
Or
No, this assembly. Yeah. The assemblymen here.
Yeah.
District assembly.
Yeah.
So that means assemblymen
And women, yeah.
Yes. And the MC, the DCs are members of the assembly.
So,
Yeah, that's
so they should nominate themselves.
Kwame,
Yes, sir.
give me
There should be a meeting.
No, I have
the assembly.
exactly. But who
That's what they are saying. That listen, they said Vanderpool is alleging that they have received. Hold on.
I want us to go by the Constitution. Anything contrary to that.
But I've quoted the Constitution,
Yeah,
and I'm saying that.
and that comes from the amendment.
But on the basis of this Constitution, Neil Ante Vanderpool is alleging that they receive reports from the assemblies across the country of attempts by government to use its authority to choose its own representatives to form the electoral college instead of constituting an assembly meeting for the assemblies themselves to nominate 2 people to form the electoral college. That's the allegation.
Yeah, but this is exactly. I'm happy you said it's an allegation. And how credible is the report of which he received and is acting on?
So you're downplaying.
And this one is a constitutional provision. It is laid bare in the Constitution. So anything contrary to that, anybody can go to court and get it quashed. So I don't think government in its right sense in trying to get to the constitutional body like the Council of State will engage in an illegality. Kwame, Doc, let's be serious in this country.
No,
the procedure is clear.
The procedure is...
And if you think you can't defy it, anybody can go to the Supreme Court based on Article 2 if you flout the rules for interpretation of that article. And it's self-explanatory. So how are you going to bend it? That is why I asked whether the chief executive is a member of the assembly. If yes, how sure are you that he or she was not nominated by the other members of the assembly? So what is the basis?
There should be minutes to attest to that.
Exactly. So have you called for it? Do you know? Have you checked?
But they are saying that there have been no assembly.
That is what. How credible is even the report?
And how credible is the report?
Exactly. So let's find out. Exactly. And I am now saying that this is so basic for us to commit that error, that constitutional blunder. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
Mr. Atom is asking a very important question. He said the DCs are interim. How can they hold positions and act legally? Says correct me if I'm wrong.
That's also another
very, very important point.
elected by the
absolutely.
district assembly.
Absolutely. Good morning to you, Ambassador Sampiale. You're watching. You said yesterday you took 3 local masons, Kwame and Efo, to your site. Kwame dropped his education at JSS. Efo never went to school at all. The wonderful story is that the building plan was in Hindi. Surprisingly, these 2 young masons and Kwashi, the carpenter, set out the building square and fit without any problems whatsoever. And that is where I agreed that in Ghana, science and technology is domain of the uneducated, whereas the educated ones learn how to talk and solve no problems. Are we investing in our education system for any results? And you say you celebrate the 2 guys. I mean, these local artisans and things like that, Charlie, you give them any design, they will do it for you. It's strange though, and some of them have not even been to school before. But you give them a design, the way they will do it for you. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Justice Ekufu Hineku, for your time this morning. Mujib Rahman, Akpenami, and Dr. Mark Angel Ket Nawani, thank you very much for your time. But before I leave you, let me remind you again that my very good friend, Dr. Eben Ajakufi, who is the CEO of Shekinah Herbal, will be working at Klagon, his head office, Shekinah Herbal Clinic, on the Accra Tema motorway near the Ashaman Underbridge from 7, so I presume he has already started, 7:30 a.m. now to 3 p.m. tomorrow. Tuesday at Shekinah Herbal Clinic, Sogakope, Main Lorry Park. Wednesday he will be at the Shekinah Herbal Clinic, opposite KK House. And Thursday, Shekinah Herbal Clinic, Agotome, Agbozome, near the Deeper Life Church. So please, make sure that you visit him for him to help you with all your herbal and medical needs. Thank you very much. And finally, I think that, like I said before, in these corona times, you need to start doing something for yourself. So I beg you, you need to be part of this, very innovative project that has been introduced by the Self-Boss Training. They are training you to become your own boss, okay? So if you are a house help, if you are a domestic servant, if you are a school dropout, if you are a housewife, churches, constituencies, anybody at all, if you want to begin to do something for yourself, kindly call them on 0246289760. They're going to be organizing a 1-day skills and entrepreneurship empowerment workshop for the unemployed, okay? So they're going to be training you in biodigester, organic libido drink, EOP corner molds, that's sealing roses, Atadri milk, liquid soap, sanitizer spray, bleach for washing, immune booster drinks, customized chocolates, pavement towels, and so many other things. So please make sure you call them. The venue is at Accra College of Education, Atraco, after UPSA, Accra, and the time will be 7 a.m. prompt. The venue, I've stated that already. The date is on the 27th of February, 2021, which is on Saturday. Make sure you call them. There will be refreshment for everybody. And the FDA will also be there to educate us on registration and packaging of the products that they've spoken about. So call them again, 0246-289760. Let's watch this advert from them, after which we'll move straight to the Supreme Court. Thank you for watching today's edition of Good Morning Africa. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Let me be reminded.